It's getting to be winter. Is your car ready? I've got 5 things today that will help make sure you keep your car out of the mechanic shop. Let's get started. So hey, your favorite car girl next door here, and I have 5 things today that are going to keep your car out of the shop, like here at the Car Wizard shop. I've got just 5 things. You don't have to be a mechanic. You don't need to know anything special. And you know, if you know this stuff, if you are a gearhead and you follow the Car Wizard in all of his videos, make sure you share this with somebody who can use this. If you've got college kids off in college, you've got somebody who's just like, they like cars, but they just don't know what to do with them, share this video. But the first thing we want to focus on, and then we're going to start with the biggest concern to ones that are going to help you in the long run as well. But the first one are tires. Tires are probably the biggest thing. Now, we're not talking about traveling up I-70 in Colorado in the middle of a blizzard. We're not talking that. We're not in the mountains. We're not crossing the Continental Divide. I'm talking about just normal winter driving. Maybe we're getting some slush falling. Maybe we got some ice going on, maybe a little snow. And even if those of you that live in areas like, maybe like Atlanta or Dallas, you're like, oh, it never snows. Yeah, it does. And what do? The people there go absolutely insane. So the first one we want to focus on is tires. They are the biggest difference in making sure you stay on the road or not. And one thing you want to make sure of is, do they have, a good tread on them? Now, if you look here, these tires have good tread. They're pretty new. They look good. Not like the little Fiat over here. Let's go take a look. Okay, so these tires are bad. Not only are they flat, but look here. You can actually see it's cracking. That is a bad sign. You don't want to be driving with tires like this. Also, if it's smooth on your tread, there's little bars there you can see. If you see those bars going straight across, yeah, these are tires you do not want to drive around in any condition, let alone bad weather in winter. Okay, let's go back over to the car. Hey, really quick, I need to interrupt the video, just super fast. Partworks update. They're live. My last auction for 2024 is live right now. There's a link in the description below to go to those eBay auctions. There's plenty of items out there for you guys. I was trying to focus on Christmas right now. So if you've got that gearhead, or maybe you're the gearhead and you see something you like, maybe you need to send the link to somebody you know that could use one of these really great parks. I got lots of keychains this time. I got a whole bunch of authentic emblems from a lot of vintage cars. I thought you might like that. I got a couple of new ideas for some photos, you can put in with the logo. Anyway, check those out. Links in the description. Let's get back to winterizing your car. So here we are in our Juke. Remember, this is the car that the Car Wizard saved after a industrial staple was sucked up into the oil pan and locked up the engine, had to get bearings from Australia. Yeah, it's actually our winter car, and it's an all-wheel drive car, which makes it easier to drive. But talking tires here, this was parked outside and it was pretty cold this morning. And when I turn the key on, look what I see. So when I turn it on, it says check tire pressure. Oh no, my car, I must have a flat. Oh no, they don't look flat. Do they look flat? Do they look like they're getting low? Let's go check the other side. These don't look bad either. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The temperature when these tires were filled were probably 80, 90 degrees. And the Wizard filled them to the correct, poundage. But as it got colder, well, what happens when things get colder? Air shrinks. And so the tires have lost pressure, just a little pressure, and the tire pressure monitoring system, the TPMS, has now told you that your car has a leak. Well, that's what it thinks it does. And this car isn't fancy enough to give me actual tire pressures per each wheel. It just says, check tire pressure. So it's a little frustrating. What is the solution? Well, you need to put air in your tires. You need to put a little bit in there. You need to check the pressure on each tire and get them to the correct amount. And you know the correct poundage that you need to put into your tires, but if you go to the driver's door and open it, on that door jamb, it'll tell you what that pressure should be. And again, you don't need to have a special mega compressor. Just go to a gas station and they will be able to usually help you. Sometimes, if you're lucky, still free. Not always though. But that's what happens. You don't need to freak out. You don't need to be like, oh my gosh, I need to get there right away. You do need to take care of it, but you're probably not going to have a flat tire. Now, if you have a fancier car and it does give you what each wheel is, put that screen on your gauge cluster and watch it. A lot of times, instead of keep going down like a flat tire would do, as the car gets warmer, the tire gets warmer from the friction on the road, that pressure will actually start to go up a pound or two. Not a whole lot. You're still going to probably need to put a little bit of air in your 4 tires. So that's one thing you need to worry about while winter is about to get here to us. The other thing is check your spare. Don't forget the spare. Open up the back hatch if that's where it's at and double check. If you have one of the cars that doesn't come with a spare, that's kind of their new thing they do, make sure you got the Fix-A-Flat can in the car. Most cars, if they don't have that spare, come with that. Okay, so let's move on to the second most important thing, and that's actually up here, the windshield. So we're not going to talk about actually the windshield itself. You know, I probably, if I had a crack in my windshield, I don't know if I would want to replace it at the beginning of winter. Yeah, I could crack more, but there's so much salt and stuff on the roads that there's just the likelihood of something else get flung up there and hurt it more. I'd probably wait if there's a rock chip until maybe spring. But the one thing you want to check are the windshield wipers. Put your hand on them, pull them out. Does it feel smooth or does it feel bumpy? If it's not smooth, you probably need to get new windshield wipers. And I'm not even going to show you how to do it. You know why? I might show it on another video, but not this one. Because if you go to your local parts store, most of the time they're going to tell you, oh, we'll put that on for you free. Yeah. So why go to all the trouble to do it yourself, especially if it's going to be cold outside? They'll install them for free when you buy them from them. So make sure you check those windshield wipers. The other thing you want to check is the fluid, your washer fluid. One time when I was much younger, way younger, I had a car, didn't check it, got to be winter, it was kind of slushy on the road, stuff got flung up on the windshield. I went to wash it and pushing the button, nothing's spraying out because it had all gotten used up. So make sure you double check that. And I need to make sure I show you which kind to use. So there's 2 kinds of windshield washer fluid. There's a summer blend and a winter blend. The summer blend might have a little more kind of stuff to dissolve bug guts. That's kind of what its focus is. And in the winter, we don't need to worry about bugs as much, but we need to make sure that it doesn't freeze. And in this case, it says it goes to -20. Now, if you were to add this and you had the summer blend in there, that -20 is not going to be -20 if you have a whole bunch of the bug version in the car. There's no real easy way to drain that. I mean, a mechanic obviously can. Maybe use it a few times. Maybe every time you get in the car, wash the windshield, wash the windshield, wash the windshield. And then, you know, the more concentrated this is in the car, the better. But usually it's not -20 too often here in Kansas, but it has been. The third thing is in the engine bay. Now, don't get afraid. We're not doing anything crazy in here. And trust me, I really wouldn't know much what to do in here. I am not the car wizard. But again, this is where you'll check the windshield washer fluid as well. The other thing you want to check is, do you have any codes going on in your car? How do you know? There's going to be a light in your dash. You're going to have a check engine light. You want to make sure that's being addressed. It may be something you need to be worried about. It may not. And while you're at the parts store getting those new windshield wipers, just ask them, hey, can you scan my codes? And then write them down. If it's like P1053, I don't know what that is, I made that up, Google it. What is the problem? If it seems scary, talk to your mechanic, okay? If it's something, unfortunately, maybe like the oxygen sensor got an issue, a lot of times that throws a code. It's not dire, it's not detrimental to the function of the car, but you would definitely want to make sure at some point you want to get that addressed. But if there's something else, you do not want your car to break down and leave you stranded. So that's the extent of really what we're doing under here. You really don't need to worry about coolants and things like that, like your antifreeze, because today they come pre-mixed. Back a long time ago, they came like you had to test it. You'd mix water, you'd buy it concentrated, mix water with it, you'd put it in, you'd suck it up, you'd suck up some of it, and these would float depending on how much it can handle that freezing temperature, what temperature it could go to. Yeah, we don't use this anymore. And what's shocking is Junior Mint had this in his toolbox. I asked him, I was like, hey, you got one of those? He's like, yeah, sure, it's right here. And rarely do they use them here in the shop, but occasionally, sometimes a customer will come in, a boomer, they'll come in and they'll have added water to their system, and they want to know what is the setting? What can I go down to? What can I drive down to? So we don't have to do that any longer. The other thing in here, which is not hard, is the battery. Now, I'm not asking you to replace the battery or do anything like that, but check it. If your battery is over 4 years old, it probably needs to get replaced. The batteries typically don't have like cycles where they just slowly start failing. No, it usually happens on that really cold day when it really takes a lot of effort to get everything moving in here. That's when it goes, whoa, and it doesn't start. Then what? You've got to get it jumped. Huge inconvenience. So watch that age of battery. There's usually a sticker on there that says how old it is. It's usually like a month and a year. So double check that. You do not want to be like, it was almost scary. Wizard and I and the family had gone on a Christmas cruise many years ago. It was amazing. It was awesome. Escaped Kansas winter. We get back into the ML350 we had at that time. We had parked it outside at the airport, go in, and it went whoa. Yeah, we were scared there for a second. It did get started. It got us home, and you know what? We immediately put a new battery in it. So double check. See that none of these issues are going on in your car. Let's go on to the fourth one. Number 4 is the most simple one possible. Gas. Make sure you keep at least a quarter of a tank in your car. I usually fill up then anyway, but you never know. If you get stuck in traffic, there's cold weather, maybe there's an accident on the road, you're not in it, but you're just waiting for them to clear the traffic, and you're getting down and the light bings on, low fuel. Well, you don't want to run out of fuel waiting for traffic to clear on a nice, cold, yucky day. So that's it. Keep gas in your car. Let's move to 5. So number 5 is we finally move into the interior of the car. And this is what makes the creature comforts that you're going to want for driving in the winter. And one of which is, the first one you want to do is wash the inside of your windshield. Have you ever gotten in there and it's kind of frosty and you're just like, oh, how did it get so dirty? Yeah, first one, wash the inside of your windshield. The next thing is make sure that you have a scraper and a brush on it in case, even if you don't have snow, doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of frost on that windshield. You want to get it scraped off and brushed off as well. If you're in an area that gets a lot of snow, you might want to consider getting one of those windshield covers. The kind that kind of loop onto your rear view mirrors, and so it makes it a whole lot easier. Just pull that sucker off, shake it out, and you can leave in the morning and not have to, scrape off or unbury your windshield. So that's another thing you want to watch out for. Another thing is, and I can't imagine many people don't do this already, but make sure you have a cord for your cell phone in the car, just in case the battery gets low on your cell phone and you need to make an emergency call, okay? Now, I'm not talking survival kits or anything like that. I'm talking just normal winter driving, but you don't want to be stuck in traffic, your phone's already low, and you can't call loved ones and say, hey, I'm making it home, I promise, I'm just stuck on the highway. So make sure you have a cord in there to do that. The other thing I like to keep in my car, and in here is a blanket, just one of those nice fleece blankets. A lot of times this time of year, especially at Walmart, you can find those, they're pretty cheap, but you can find them already, pre-rolled up. This container, this is actually what something came in. If you get sheets sometimes or bedding, a lot of times it comes in a package. You can just take that out, put a new blanket in. It stays nice and clean. This is a godsend. If you're cold, obviously you can wrap up in it. If you have an interior, you don't want to get dirty with something, you can put this down and protect the interior of your car. In worst case scenario, if something is really dirty and messy, it can be used as like a towel, and then you can throw it in the wash. So blanket is a must. The other thing that I always want to have in the car is make sure you have your jacket or a coat. Now, I am of the age and the era that in the winter we wear a coat. My kids would be like, oh, Mom, I don't need to wear a coat. I'm like, yeah, it's cold out there. No, Mom, I'm only going from the car into school, or I'm only going in from the car into the store. I don't need a coat. I don't want to be burdened with this bulky coat. Okay, I get that. But if something were to happen and you don't have a coat, you need to have something in case something were to come up. So you can always just keep it in the car. I don't keep one in my car because I'm wearing my coat. But if we're going out, the wizard doesn't like to wear a coat. He's one of those people who, I don't need a coat. I don't get that cold. I still make him bring a coat with him, just in case. I'd rather be overly prepared and make an extra trip from the car to the house and bring it back in later for him than to need it and be, really cold and uncomfortable. So did we talk about anything crazy and complicated and hard here today? No, everything we've talked about is something that anybody can do and everybody should be doing. If your car needs more complicated work, that's when you call your mechanic. But this will make sure that you get from point A to point B in comfort and not have to worry about, oh gosh, am I going to slide off the road? Or am I going to be able to see through my windshield? If I did get stuck in traffic, do I at least have a blanket to curl up in and stay comfortable until traffic finally gets moving again? So I hope this video has served you well. Make sure you share it with people who you think could definitely use some help out there. But glad you're with me today. Thanks for watching. Bye.